Okay, so there are some tough jobs in telecoms, but Nice in May, it's not one of them. I'm Jeremy Cowan for Vanilla Plus. What is a tough job is the one being faced by service providers right now. They have a growing gap to deal with between rising data service costs and static or even falling revenues. Policy control can undoubtedly help. It can improve the customer experience. It can help manage costs. So I'm here in Nice to talk to Gareth Senior, the CTO of Comptel, about bridging that gap. Gareth, managing mobile data traffic profitably has been an issue for communication service providers for quite a while now. How effectively are they using policy control and charging today?
I think we're starting to see an uptake in policy control and charging. Policy control at a network level is widely adopted. So policy control from network vendors, intelligent networking devices that restrict bandwidth in the network, that restrict your usage of bandwidth in the network, I think are widely adopted, especially in the mobile broadband arena where usage of mobile broadband has exploded and dynamic restrictions on broadband need to be implemented. But these are not intelligent solutions. These are solutions that just restrict bandwidth for everybody on a wholesale basis. So policy control and charging control from a software-led perspective, a software-based solution, really gives us the ability to understand who the customer is, what the customer's doing, what the customer's paid for, and really bring intelligence into the policy control arena. So I would say we're starting to get there, we're starting to see the uptake, but at the moment it's still very much a network-centric thing.
What more could service providers be doing, not just to manage traffic, but to monetize it?
So it's all about software. It's all about a software-based solution that understands who the customer is. So it's about understanding what the customer's paid for, who the customer is, what the customer's doing, how are they using the bandwidth? Are they downloading music? Are they watching movies? Or are they connected up to their corporate VPN and trying to look at email or run a corporate application? So we have to have software-based solutions that bring intelligence to policy control. But also we want to think about policy control crossing multiple different network domains. Maybe you could call it convergent policy control. But we want to think about policy control where we can implement policy across a fixed wire connection, across a mobile connection. So how does that work? You know, if we think about policy control in terms of not just saturation within maybe a cell site, but we think about policy control for a customer who's purchased a 5 gigabyte plan. Can that 5 gigabyte plan be interchangeable between the different networks? Can I use some of it on my home broadband before I get throttled back to a lower speed connection at home? Can I use some of it on my mobile broadband connection? Can I share that between those two elements? Again, that's something that network-based solutions are not capable of doing. So we really believe that that's where the software-based solution comes in. That's where the service provider can offer a better quality of experience and can really turn around the idea of throttling broadband into potentially a positive, especially when selling to a premium customer.
How is Comptel supporting service providers in this effort?
Clearly, Comptel has and is promoting a software-based solution to policy control. But I think further than that and more than that, we're looking at how we integrate policy control with charging. So Comptel's solution is very much about a policy control system integrated with our charging platform. And that leads you on to greater things like service personalisation, taking those same sort of service building blocks, those same elements that everybody's buying, but reassembling them to create a completely personalised experience. We're seeing widespread adoption of this in Asia, where the ability to create a plan that is centred around the family, centred around an individual and his family. If you spend X amount of money here, you get to send free SMSs here. All of these things come into this customer experience management, this ability to create tailored, personal services. Bandwidth management, policy control is very much perceived as a negative. It's very much perceived as we're restricting. If we look at how we personalise that, if we look at how we link it in with charging models, so it's not just about restricting bandwidth, it's about looking at areas where maybe we have lots of capacity and doing free offers. Same underlying technology, same underlying building blocks, but a personalised service.
You've already hinted at the kind of services that might follow. What's the role of the cloud in delivering new services and new revenues to enhance the profitability of service providers?
So the cloud's an interesting one. I mean, there's a lot of hype about cloud at the moment, but the cloud is a reality. We're seeing service providers launching cloud-based services. You know, we saw BT a couple of weeks ago launching a public cloud-based service, trying to attract small, medium enterprise into completely, virtualizing their IT infrastructure. So where service providers play in this is clearly the service providers have a good brand, they have a good customer relationship. There's a certain element of security in going to the service provider. But the service provider has to differentiate. They have to move themselves away from what Google can offer. Google's a very good brand as well. It's well trusted. And they're perfectly capable of offering wholesale virtualization or cloud-based services. But what the service provider has as well is the network. The service provider is able to link the network in with the cloud. So the service provider is able to guarantee a quality of experience, a quality of service that potentially Google can't offer. Now, clearly, if you've got someone who's virtualized their IT systems and they have a single office, Google can buy a VPN to that office and that will have quality of service associated with it. But where you could really start linking these themes together is if you then bring dynamic policy management into the cloud. So if I've got a guy who's purchased a virtual environment, he has a cloud, he can use that cloud in his office with a very good quality of experience. But he goes down to Starbucks and he's on his mobile broadband connection. Now, if I start to look at policy control for a convergent operator applied to that scenario, we can guarantee that the guy, when he's in Starbucks trying to access his cloud, and his cloud is now paramount to him, all of his business applications, all of his data, all of everything he would do normally on his laptop is now in the cloud. So we have to be able to say, you will be able to get access to that, not just from home, not just from the office, but when you're in Starbucks and you're on the mobile broadband connection. So the differentiator for service providers is their ability to bundle the network with the cloud. But if you bring in policy control to that cloud, if you bring in policy control to that service provider, intelligent policy control, then we can look at how we can guarantee quality of experience when this guy's out and about with his laptop. And I think that's a real differentiator, a real USP for service providers over the Googles of this world.
It used to be that the disciplines of service delivery on the one hand and billing and charging on the other were seen as completely distinct and separate. Are we now seeing the emergence of a new combined skill set, either in real time or near real time?
Yes, I really think we are. I mean, next generation networks, IP-based networks, are really platforms. So traditional networking is one bit of network per service that you're trying to deliver. Well, when you look at IP networking and you look at cloud services, these are platforms on top of which service providers can launch multiple services, things we haven't even thought about. So OSS needs to be a platform as well. You need to have one coherent platform on top of which you can grow. We're seeing a lot of uptake now of catalog technologies. Catalog technologies, in conjunction with customer and service repositories, bridge the gap between mediation and charging and fulfillment. So those traditional sort of separate stacks now come together to form the OSS platform on top of which service providers can continually build out new OSS services to support their new telco services, be them IP or cloud.
Gareth, thank you.